I call this special session to order. Ms. Weir, would you call the roll, please?
Council President Suzanne Souter,
Here.
Councilperson Joseph Day,
Here.
Councilperson Norman Zubaka,
Here.
Councilperson Andrew Zelt,
Here.
Councilperson Brian Mataway.
Here.
Also in attendance, City Administrator Antonina Tantillo, City Treasurer James Wishman, and City Clerk Finance Coordinator Courtney Taylor.
I'll start as we have been by turning it over to the Tantilla to update us on the most recent changes to the budget.
Sure, so I'll just broadly go over this and then I'll go into more specific details. So to start, the first page deals with public safety. Previous budget drafts from previous meetings, we had just carried over the numbers from the previous years. We have projected some more numbers specifically with the health increase. So we've adjusted those numbers. And then overall, the projected expenses for the year, with the contributions included are
What page you want?
21. $6,969,361.41, and the revenues do match that. Just note that we have the unreserved fund balance carry forward of $1,250,000 and $250,760.11, and the restricted fund balance carry forward of $347,501.30. The reserves funding the unrestricted fund balance carry forward, that will come from our reserves, which unrestricted was about $8 million at the last budget, the last council meeting. And then there's, some in there of the ARPA money, so we will still have about 6 million, give or take, remaining in our unrestricted, not accommodated for in this budget. So we'll still remain in a healthy position. To go over some specific details, like I mentioned, the public safety changes on the first page. Bear with me as I go through this. On page 8, equipment for parks. We have added the 75,000 as discussed at the last budget meeting for a playground grant match, bringing that budget amount to 165,000.
May I interrupt, ask a question
Yes.
about that?
Yes.
Now, I understand the Encore, in conjunction with the Playground Committee, has requested other grants
Yes.
which may cover that.
Correct.
And so this is sort of as a backup in case they don't get those grants. Is that correct?
Correct. That's what we discussed at the last meeting.
Right. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. So
But can I just say, I mean, like, if they're short 75,000 to tend to fill in that hole too,
Right.
I think it would show, what I was saying is it would show, it would be a great sign for other funders to see the city's also putting forth funds there for it. Of course, if it gets funded, for other grants, it wouldn't be used. But it could be used by the playgrounds too, so it could be potentially carried over for next fiscal
Well,
year.
that's true.
To seed for satellite playgrounds from the
Right.
city, so.
We have other playgrounds that need attention.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
on page 10, I believe there's advertising for mayor and council. It was 10,500. We did add an additional $500 there. Councilman Mataway and I had a discussion, and we had a request for purchase of marketing materials for events in the city, such as Separation Day and such as St. Anthony's procession that we talked about at the previous meeting. So we did add that there. And economic development activities for mayor and council. We had previously discussed this at budget meetings and up at last council meeting, which we approved the extension of the outreach coordinator position through the end of August, and the mayor had asked if we could extend that through September. So we had ARPA that we are going to carry forward remaining from the end of this fiscal year, about $12,000, and then we added a little bit more, about 3,300 more to, that amount to accommodate the request to extend through September. So we can discuss that. The contributions for mayor and council, we added the additional 250 as discussed at the previous meeting.
What page, son?
And
That was in respect to Councilman Zabaka's, request
Software.
for software.
Yes,
For
thank
the
you.
reach, right?
To cover some
Additional
churches and public buildings outside the downtown area.
absolutely. Professional development for administration on page 13 or 14. We have added 60,000 to that professional development line and to expand that professional development line to become a professional development / employee retention line. Councilman Mataway, did you want to expand on that? Would you like me to?
Yeah, that was just, in respect to, thinking out programs, that would be all encompassing for all city employees, as a good faith and trying to get some goodwill, and ensuring that we stay a competitive employer in this competitive marketplace.
Thank you.
I just have a question about, I'm fully supporting that proposal. I wonder if that can be moved to, it wouldn't make sense to move it to mayor and council budget lines.
We can move it wherever you'd like.
The bottom line still.
No, yes, absolutely. Yeah,
Um,
just as a line item under maybe economic development activities, perhaps, or new line be created. Just was curious because it sounded like something could fit in there perhaps. But it's minor issue, just a thought. I'll leave it to the councilperson Mataway for it.
I'm indifferent, defer to, Ms. Tempelo and Ms. Taylor's, better government.
Okay. We'll discuss and then for the final budget tomorrow, we'll let you know what we decide. The capital reserves line, building under, on page 17 or 18. We've increased that to now, it was 100,000 and we've added 34,500. This current fiscal year, we had 80,000 budgeted for improvements, 50,000 of which was for public services department. They needed some building repairs, and in addition to that, they needed some additional building repairs due to a storm that damaged their roof. So the storm that damaged their roof caused a request to the insurance company, which we did receive some funds for. So they have worked on the roof repairs and there's other repairs needed for the salt barn that we have. We are looking to improve the salt barn with the availability of more funds because we did receive insurance check, which we used for the roof. So we wanted to carry that forward and that's in the restricted carry forward line on the expense side. And the revenue side, we added this on the expense side to accommodate for that salt barn repair and improvement. That is it for the revenue side. And then going to
Expenses.
expense side. Revenue side. I keep saying that, I'm sorry. Just as I mentioned, the restricted fund balance carry forward, we added that 34,500 for the public
So
safety,
what they changing?
35, 36. So we added the 34,500 for the public service capital project and the ARPA carry forward for the outreach coordinator for the remainder that was left in this year. And then the unreserved fund balance carry forward. We've added this back, we've added this in now that we have come to closer to a finalized budget. And that equals $1,250,760.11. And that is all of the changes that we've made.
Before we get into council discussion, shall we hear from the public and then we can have our discussion? Sure. So is there anyone here who would like to say something about budget? Well, Mr. Gross is coming up, the usual rules, 3 minutes, please sign in, state your name.
Bill Gross, 1301 13th Street. So how much was added to the budget in total in expenditures from the original total?
The very first original,
Are you referring to the last meeting that we had last week, or?
Yeah.
Because it's changed several times as we've worked through the process.
Alright, well, I'll come back to that. I guess as far as extending the outreach coordinator, they're doing a wonderful job, but there's absolutely no difference between the end of August and the end of September, because any events in September, everything should have been in the pipeline and worked on and going forward. So to extend it, again, we could be adding stuff to that budget, 10,000 here, 3,000 there. And I just don't see a point in it. There's no difference between the end of August and then end of September. A request for more money to hand out brochures and flyers by the mayor. Was that correct in what was mentioned?
I can speak to that, Mr. Gross. That was not, specifically, we're talking about is Separation Day, as an example. There was a parade, and people descend on our city from all over. People in council and other representatives from the city walk the parade, and as usually, they hand out candy or flags, etc. This year, we handed out American flags, which was great. We thought, wouldn't it be cool if we handed out City of Newcastle flags, as an example? So that's the top kind of marketing or information that we're talking about.
My feeling on all this, centralize it. You got everybody spending. The Newcastle partnership should not get 1 red cent from the city. Should not get anything. If they're doing a brochure, no, send it to the Historical Society. If they want to get something made, they can request it from them. That brochure that was handed out, not for the parade, but in general, was supposed to be self-sufficient. I remember 8 years ago going to meetings, and it was supposed to be carried by the advertisers. Dog park. Ridiculous? No. If you take a poll, how many people want it? How many people are going to use it out by the Hermitage? It should be down by the water, by the boat club, where people can access it.
While city administrator is addressing, probably calculating the difference, I have about 890,000 increase since last week, is that correct?
790, yeah.
Oh, 700?
And a good bit of that is non-discretionary, right? The vast majority of it is non-discretionary income or expense. It's not these little, 2,000 here and 30,000 there, it's larger.
But the playground thing, I agree with Councilman Norm as far as making it appear to have the backing of the city, so when they go out looking for grants, they can say we have the support of the city. But to catch any shortfall of 70,000, went right in max 3,000 to give them incentive to close that gap. Because to fall back to the city to pick up whatever shortfall they have, that's an open door. Just like with the state, you might as well just say, let's give the max. We don't have the money to spend 200 grand on a state.
And we're not planning to spend anywhere near that. Okay, does anyone else have anything to say, Mr. Miller?
First off, you're gonna vote on the budget, I'm assuming tomorrow night, is that correct?
That's our
Okay, so
vote, yes.
it will be out there, okay. What is now you've added, more spending, it sounds like, but, what is the current, deficit? Like, what is the hole that we're trying to make up right now?
Well, the amount that we're rolling over from reserves is,
1,250,000.
Okay, I was trying to understand, I couldn't hear you very well.
Okay,
So you decided to do that?
that will make the final decision once they vote.
but that's.
Well,
at this-
that's what's,
At this point, that's what
that's
we're
what you-
leaning towards, yes.
and so that makes it up, then, right?
That-
Even that balances budget.
It covers it, balances the budget for fiscal 25, yes.
Okay. So if you go ahead and do that, then taxes will probably not go up.
Not in fiscal 25. They will
Right.
probably go up in fiscal 26.
Right.
Because we can't keep drawing down reserves. We'll run out of money.
Okay. How about the ARPA money? How much is?
It's about 1.2,
1.2 that is still untouched.
yes.
But it's
Okay.
part of that same reserve amount, 6 point something million that remains
Oh,
if this is to go.
You're counting that. Okay, well, I'm gonna have to agree with Mr. Gross here about the dog park, all right? I've talked to a lot of people about that, and I'm sorry, that just sounds like one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. I've been talking to one person who thinks it's a good idea, and I know a lot of people that have dogs, so, maybe that's, not a popular thing with certain people, maybe you think it's necessary, I don't think so. I don't even, aren't there a lot of mosquitoes out there where this Hermitage is that, no?
I've been out there and never been.
Okay, all right. Still on all, I mean, when I first heard about that, I didn't pay much mind, just like I didn't pay the playground committee much mind, because it sounded like it was all, covered. You had grants for everything. All right, so I'm trying to follow you. I understand where you're going with this thing. You have to show good faith and all that kind of stuff with this, but the bottom line is on playgrounds, and I understand you did say some good things there. It sounded like you're talking about spreading the money around into other neighborhoods, playgrounds, because I just wanted you to be extra careful and look at this like other people in other neighborhoods are looking at this. Okay, and we all know very well that the vast majority of people that use that playground are non-residents, which I'm guessing,
And-
I don't know for sure, but I'm just guessing that might play a little bit into maybe why, the trust hasn't, really gone, into playground, improvements in the past. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, but when you have so many, out of town people, they're using it. But again, when you had the money for it, it sounded great, right? And if you were getting a lot of good publicity from all that, nobody had any issues with it. But then when you come back and say, hey, well, sure, it's an awful lot of money, for a playground. Okay, but I'm not as angry as I was.
Well,
It sounds
glad to
like
hear
you're making some good moves, so I'll give you some credit for that.
Thank
Okay.
you. All right, anyone else?
I wouldn't go and get up and talk, but they lit my questioning in. Bill Emery, I live out in Bolton. The dog park. The location is absolutely the worst location you could pick for a dog park. I sit someplace in a prime location where I see people walking dogs all day long, all evening long. And they go to Battery Park. They walk their dogs on Battery Park. They walk along the river. The best place for a dog park is somewhere in a location along Battery Park. There's a humongous triangle down along Battery Park, down by the yacht club. I believe it's part of the trustees' property. So down there by the yacht club where the vehicles park in a long straight line. It's a triangular shaped piece of property. I believe it's big enough to become a dog park, fenced in and whatnot, if a deal could be worked out for that piece of land. People walk the trail, they walk the sidewalk there with, I don't know, 100 dogs a day. It'd be so easy for them to come over across the grass to an area there, fenced in area there, sit on a bench, let their dogs run in a fenced in area right there because they are right there. Rather than driving their vehicle over to the Hermitage, out of their way, most people wouldn't even know it's there and let their dogs run there. And I'm sorry, that it's right up against the swamp. I've been there, I've looked at it. There's a lot of maintaining to be done there, plus a lot of work to be done there over here at the Battery Park site. It's grass, that's the only thing there. Be so easy to do, to set up, to do the fencing, do everything you need to do for a dog park there. Prime location. Done on that topic. You mentioned something about a salt barn. Does the municipal services have a salt barn or a location like that that I don't know about?
Not municipal services, public services.
Do they have one now? Oh, okay, I didn't know that they had one.
Yes,
Most of the time when I see it, I just see a big pile out by the trolley barn or something.
probably because the roof blew.
Okay,
So we
okay.
want to fix that.
All right, that's cool. Okay, no, I didn't know, so, but anyway, that's all I had to say. Thanks much.
I do just want to say that that triangle that you referred to,
Mhm.
at least half of that is not owned by the trust, it's owned by the Progressive
By the
Club.
Progressive Club? Yes,
Which
okay.
means it's not readily available at this point.
Right, okay, and I can see that being a big problem, obviously. Progressive Club, which hadn't done anything in who knows how long, but, yeah,
But just so you know.
okay, thank
I
you.
just want to add that too. At the time, we were talking about the locations for dog park. I really wanted it to be central to myself. And I talked to Trust at the time and, I asked about the Bull Hill area. And they had different plans there, which I thought also was among the,
Yeah, that's a nice
walkable
location.
community where you could utilize the space. So
Yes.
I think RFP is getting ready to be out. I don't know how much room we have to negotiate location again, but I want it to happen. But
Yeah.
location could
I
be.
mean, a
could
dog
be-
park is a great idea. It's just Hermitage is so far out of way. That's all.
I go to Rockford Park sometimes when I
Yeah.
drop off my daughter in the morning and they have open.
Yeah, that's
open
not even
parking. There's
fenced
no
in.
fence there. You don't
Yeah.
see any issues there. I would love that, first of all, Newcastle. I just don't know if that would fly. But,
Yeah.
I've never seen an incident there and it's so nice and peaceful. You can sit there. I take my daughter there amongst dozens of dogs that are bigger and smaller than her and haven't had any, big issues. But that's just,
Thank you.
thank you for coming.
Okay, anyone else?
Particulars aside, I would just like to thank council for the inordinate amount of time that you've spent over the last couple of months figuring out all of these issues.
Thank you.
I don't have any dogs, but I do broadly support the dog park. I think the Hermitage is a pretty good location for it, having had dogs in the past. And being a park user who doesn't have dogs now, I think it's better to keep dog parks away from more populated areas of parks, and I think that's probably best practice at most dog parks I've seen around town, and not like right in the center of the most busiest part of the park. And yeah, that is all. Thank you. And I would just, I also want, I appreciated the letter in the weekly and would encourage continued proactive communication about the issue.
You didn't say your name, please.
Matthew Alexander, sorry about that.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you all very much. Comments from council on the latest revision of the budget?
I wanted to ask about the grant side. So the total in our last week's budget for the grants was 8,030,000, and now it's at 9.42 million.
That's not just the grants, that's the whole budget.
Sorry. Well, the total went from 8.03 to 9.42. So is that, how much of that is going towards the general fund and how much is that increase in grants, I guess, is the question there.
The general fund and grants are separate.
So okay, so page 40 then, the total. Can you explain it, I guess, and then.
What number? What page number?
9.4 million and then increase from 8 million from last time, so.
So I think that number is including the grants, but the grants, I mean, we recently just cut checks. We updated stuff. I made sure that the grants balanced on both sides, because we have several different funds. And within the funds, we have several different deals. So just going through making sure everything balanced. But the grants are separate from the general fund.
No, I understand that. I'm just trying to figure out how do we increase by 1.4 million? Like, what are those lines that account for 1.4 million difference from last meeting? That's
But
hard to follow the document because it's kind of continuous
is.
from three different
The
budgets.
general fund increase
Yeah.
would be in there,
Yeah.
and then, there were some grants that will be carrying forward, right? That's what you mean by
Mhm.
balance them. So. We were investing.
the last, no, I wouldn't be every last one. Okay, the last one, grants were balance. Because I have to go through and input all of them, and like I said, we were cutting short. So I made sure because we're trying to approve the budget by tomorrow.
So majority of it is then, if I'm understanding right, unreserved fund balance carry forward. Towards
Yeah, that whole number.
of that 1.4 million increase, like 1.25.
Yeah, because we never accounted for that, and then
And I see
everything else
bond
we
23 is increased by about 30,000.
Right, so yeah, previous iterations of the budget did not show it balanced, because we didn't pull the rollover into the revenue side to make the projected expenses match the projected
So our
revenue.
revenue and our grants total projected 9.4 million
Yes,
roughly.
you're looking at a complete budget balance from our general fund and as well as the grants. Before you weren't looking at a.
So about 120 increase from last time, 1,000 in grants and maybe even some revenues. I did see that we had a significant increase in one of the revenue lines. I don't remember. I didn't know that. So you guys can bear with me for a second. Oh yeah, property tax, we have 62,000 increase in
Oh, because we
last
just
time.
received the
that's
transfer
probably
tax, yeah, our final one, we received it. Sometimes, what's today? Wednesday, last week.
So between last Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah, we just received it and we got in there.
Of the transfer tax. so
Yeah.
That we had a large new payment.
Yes.
Yeah, the actual 2024 increased by 62,000. Thank you.
Others?
Still, I just, wanted to come back on that same topic. Thank you for providing the increased revenue figures. Last meeting, you mentioned that, you and Mr. Santillo mentioned that we had a check that was received by the county that we need to give them a check.
Yes.
Wanted to type button on that. I was probably giving them the check. Our check is still outstanding, right?
We just
probably won't
We
get
just
that.
received it yesterday, so it does reflect in what you're looking at.
Okay.
Yeah.
MSC appropriations that we
That will
think
be
we will
received.
get that, right?
Hopefully by Friday.
Franchise fees also not there yet. So,
Yeah, so just note, the numbers that you see for actuals for 2024 will continue to change until the end of the fiscal year due to additional amounts being spent and received. So it's unavoidable since the year is not over. We won't be a perfect number, but when, we have the year-end report and the audit, you'll see all the numbers.
Well,
The
and
final.
a number of things like franchise
Yeah.
fees and the MSC is paid quarterly, right?
Yeah.
So when you get it, it's 25% of the income, so
Mm-hmm.
it makes a big difference
Absolutely.
when we get that final payment.
And that would presumably reduce the unrestricted fund carry forward by that same amount that we receive by Friday, hopefully.
Oh, no, because
No,
the
because we
carry
need that
forward's
to
based on
balance
projections for 25, not actuals for 24.
But I'm saying because we are, but it would go back into reserves. Got it.
Yes.
The reserve
But
would increase by
increase
that
the
amount.
remaining
Yes,
reserves,
correct.
right?
It's all.
But it
we're
wouldn't
talking about
change the budget for 25. Anyone else, Mr. Zelkin, today?
I don't have any questions on the budget, but I did want to give you an update on the band shell. So I did get prices and availability from Mobile Stage Manufacturing. So I was actually wrong. They're not manufactured in upstate New York, but that's where their office is. They're actually manufactured in Germany. So they are 6 months out, and the L stage, which is a 20 by 22, which is comparable to what we were looking at, is $108,000. Delivery and training for the unit would come up to be $125,000 altogether. So I think we budgeted 80, and so even if we went with that one, we're at
We are 75.
75. Okay, so that means we're like 50 short on the stage. So I did go online and look at used units from rental companies. I looked at Gov Deals didn't really have any, but the used units from the other company that we were looking at, Stage Line, even the used units were 135,000. So, my guess is that COVID probably exasperated the situation with, jurisdictions with money. I do think we're at the point where ours is almost at the end of its life. So I think we, need to make a decision, and I think, and obviously I'm not in favor of not having a band shell because we use it so much. So I had no idea that we would be in this range of pricing. But here we are, so I just wanted to bring it up and have a conversation in the open about it.
I'm surprised it's that cheap,
Yeah.
quite honestly.
Well, the ones we were first looking at were closer to the number Mr. Gross mentioned, and they were far and away more elaborate than what we needed here. So we just, kind of rejected those out of hand and started looking at other companies. So then that's when Mr. Day, well, I did some research, Mr. Day's done a great deal more, and so this is what we've come to. And he consulted, as I think he mentioned last week, with Mr. Freeberry, who's someone who's a performer and so knows what works and doesn't work from a performance standpoint. And he also talked to someone from Public Works, since they're the ones who are gonna have to move it around and set it up.
I was gonna say, did you talk to Keith Wilson?
I did.
Okay.
So, yeah, we want them to want it to be something that they can handle and works for them, since they have to do the work. So, yeah, we've tried to consider all the angles. Or Mr. Day has, he's been doing the work.
Yeah, it's really outside my expertise to know like what the right price for it.
Yeah. Well,
It's
I mean-
unfortunate, it's not what we estimated ourselves, put aside
Yeah.
initially, but it's one of those things where, comparison to other companies and comparable products tells you that, the supply chain worldwide is increasing everybody's costs. And so I can see that being probably a large driver for this would have, gotten up in price since COVID started with all the DIY projects people have done. So there's certainly several elements impacting these things. So thank you for looking at that.
Mhm. So I am gonna be asking, I'm gonna ask for the additional 50 in the budget, whether we approve it or not is one thing. But I do think it's something that the city uses regularly, and then, like I said, you can look at the band shell,
Yeah, you can, yeah.
there is not much left, and I do worry about the liability the city has with it.
Right.
The steps there's not anything that's compliant anymore.
And we bought
So-
it used, as I
From
understand,
Wilmington.
Yeah.
some years ago.
Councilperson Day, last meeting you were talking about some of the custom ones would be longer time to get delivered, the stuff that you're talking about tonight. Is that faster delivery? Because they
6
get it for
months.
this, or 6 months
6
ago?
months is.
So even if
the
we
lead
can
time.
go this in, we're still getting this next summer most likely.
That's right.
Use.
Yep.
Would you like an ARPA? Or you're requesting this from ARPA or from, the general fund?
So the original money was from ARPA. I think we should take it all from ARPA. It's one
Okay.
project. It's very specific what it's for. That was my idea, so, but what I think.
What was the whole total?
125,000. It's the total budget. It's delivery, training and setup.
And that's with the steps and
That's
all.
with all the options.
the
This
options
company
that we
really
need.
doesn't have an option list.
Okay.
Everything comes with the trailer that you.
So it's all
that you're asking.
part of the
Yeah.
package.
Would they take the other thing show, like, is that included in the cost? Like, would they,
No trade. I didn't ask about trade-ins.
we would have, public service probably have to, figure out what we do with this one,
Yeah.
like take it to trash or.
Probably
or
scrap,
city.
well, no,
It's metal,
it's
scrap
metal,
metal.
we could sell it for scrap metal and get maybe
Yeah.
some money back for it.
Well, we were talking
Yeah,
about
I'll
smaller
be work-
cities too, that may.
Yeah, I'll
may
be
need-
working with them to figure out if there's something we could do.
I'm in agreement with it for the additional 50.
Councilman Day, I want to thank you for your efforts and research on this. It's definitely something that the city needs. To use all year round, literally. And looking ahead, we have the Delaware America 250. We definitely want to present something
Right.
that it is of top quality.
And it sounds like maybe we'll have it next year for the Easter parade,
That's right.
because it's not gonna be here in time for Spirit of Christmas. And then there's not too much in January, February, March, so it might, I don't know when Easter is next year, if it's early or late, but, we might have it for that, and certainly for next year's concert season.
What,
Yeah.
what was the model number you had said last time?
So the original one that we looked at was the SL 100, but that was from Stage Line. And that was the one that was 170. The model that we're looking at now is called the L Stage, and it's Mobile Stage Manufacturing is the website and company.
I'm in full support. I enjoy it. I would bring, my newborn there and, me and my wife would sit and our dog and just like sit in the side and listen to music. And it's one of the first times I saw my daughter dance to music, and it was just awesome feeling as a parent. As a resident, as a council person, it's nice to see so many people come to those events, and I know this is gonna sound weird, but I wish even more people comes. And
But we're all
experiences,
here tonight instead of.
I know, my wife was telling me this morning, by the way, I'm like, yeah, I don't think we're gonna make it tonight together. But yeah, it's just one of those things that you would like everybody to be able to part of and experience that. It's just an amazing, program. So thank you for looking into that.
Councilman Day, have you explored like color options or anything like that yet?
No, basically, you don't get any options.
Okay.
It's mostly made out of, like trusses and steel.
Okay.
And so there's not any real design to it, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of what you see is what you get on the brochure.
A functional,
And I will send I'll send the brochure to Antonine and she can, distribute it so everybody can see it. But yeah, it's really function over form with this one.
Do we have sponsors for that put, like the tape on sides and stuff? Is that part of revenue as well? Like where people
I
buy
think-
different packages?
Yeah, I
to-
think, for Separation Day, that's part of it, and we've discussed possibly expanding that in the future.
and the band
Versus
shell, the
celebration.
concerts, the partnership gets sponsorship for the concerts, right? They get,
Yeah.
there's
That's-
various company, businesses that contribute to that, and they usually have their sign sitting on the stage or whatever.
So that's not revenue that we as a city collect?
No, so
They're giving us money to pay the bands and to make the concerts happen. The bands don't come for free.
No, I understand.
no, but it's through the partnership, the concert.
Mm.
All right, so we'll add that, through an ARPA designation, so that'll be a carry forward. And, one other item that was outstanding from previous meetings that we didn't add in here was, possibly an additional, amount for a baseball team sponsorship.
I thought it was part of mayor and council already, wasn't it?
We discussed it, but it
Oh,
wasn't
okay.
finalized, so I just wanted to be clear that we would add that back in.
And
How much was that?
I think we wanted about 300.
Yeah, that would be great. I mean, that's my vote, I guess.
Yeah, it's not a large sum of money.
I think as a city, we ought to have a, brand that we
Yeah, a lot of
support,
kids from the
like
city
community
participate.
efforts, yeah. And have that line, renewed every year, hopefully.
Mhm.
And to that point, I think I remember us talking about website budget, and this may be under admin budget, I'm not sure, but, we're talking about utilizing UD student program to give us a design of the entire website next semester. They do this. So I would want to make sure that $250 that they charge is part of the.
Yeah, we
budget.
added that.
Okay. I thought that it was, but I have no idea.
I
at
don't,
this
did they
point.
ever bill us for this year's contract?
I'm sure they will at some point.
Not that I'm aware.
No, and I think Ms. Rains, the chair of planning who put us in touch with that program, said sometimes with nonprofits or municipalities, they don't bill.
I would just, I know
mean,
it's a small amount,
It's $250.
We
wanna
should add
make
the
sure that we have
250
it
at
in
some
there.
point. I can't remember it right now. which
If
one
they
it was
bill,
at,
we'll
but
pay
yes.
it, but we're not gonna complain if they don't, right?
and this is going back, I don't want this to be part of the regular council meeting, but it is public, so Councilperson Day was asking about the projects, development projects, and to that end, when are we expecting the website? with
Yeah,
the
we're
project
working on
developments
the
to be live?
website upgrades. We're hoping to have that done by the middle of July.
And this is the upgrades that went through UD already,
Yes.
okay, that's awesome.
Mhm.
Could you let the public know when this is
Mhm.
done on all our,
Mhm.
for social
I'll
media?
provide an update at the next council meeting.
Thank you. That's great.
Anything else for tonight?
No.
Is
Make a
there
motion to adjourn.
a second?
Seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Tomorrow night, 7:00, same place.
Same place. We'll see you here.
Be here, be there, be there.